Vince, are you ready for some rapid fire?
I'm always ready for rapid fire.
I have saved a couple of these other questions. I think that they are good rapid fire fodder. So let's start with
Okay.
Antoine. Here's a question: will Merriweather continue starting over Colzie, especially if Colzie plays like he did versus Navy?
Yep, he still will. Number one, because I don't think that Merriweather is going to continue to drop every pass that comes his way. I think he's actually going to play very well in this game coming up on Saturday. And look, when you put the two kids side by side, Merriweather has more upside than Colzie does, no matter what happens. And Merriweather will always be the better practice player than Colzie. And coaches are going to go with the guy who is the better practice player. They just are. And that doesn't mean that Colzie's not going to get snaps, because he obviously is. And he made the most of his 7 snaps in this last game. But Merriweather brings a lot more to the table than just catching footballs, too. He's a one heck of a blocker. He did a really good job, actually, this past Saturday blocking. So, yeah, I don't see that being the case.
I don't either. It's one game, so I'm not going to base everything on one game. We've talked about it a little bit this week. I think it's going to all work out in the balance. I think that Merriweather is going to get his. Deion Colzie will still have opportunities. Where Colzie is right now is interesting because, as you were just alluding to, in my I don't know if it was your internet or my internet that chopped a little bit. So I didn't hear everything that you were saying there, but I heard parts of what you were saying. Merriweather is definitely the better practice player between the two. And that's why he found himself on the field so much. I think it was like 35 snaps to 7 snaps or something like that. It was obvious. Now, could there be a little bit more balance? Maybe.
Sure.
But at the same time, Tobias Merriweather is a playmaker waiting to make plays.
Yep.
Now, did he have a drop? Yeah, he had a drop. Was there another ball that maybe he could have worked a little harder for 50-50 in the end zone? Sure. But was it underthrown a little bit also? Sure. But was it also pass interference? Of course it was. And then they picked up the flag afterwards. Right. So, like, what can you, there's nothing you can put on that. And as Jesse and I talked about on yesterday's show, there was when Jeremiah Love missed blitz pickup in the backfield and there's pressure coming down on Sam Hartman. Hartman ends up throwing a corner route to Colzie on the right sideline. If he had a little bit more time, if the blitz had been picked up the way he should, it's probably a touchdown on a deep post to Tobias Merriweather. So it's, again, it's like it's not all on Tobias Merriweather just because he didn't end up with any catches. In one specific case, he obviously had to make that catch. It's an easy catch. You just got to do the simple things. But I'm not going to just disregard Tobias Merriweather and start. And the coaches, I don't think, are going to either. No. They're not going to start drastically altering snaps. They know what Tobias Merriweather is capable of, and you're still going to see a lot of Tobias out there. And I think we're going to see more balls coming his way this weekend and beyond.
Yeah, and everybody else is going to see what Tobias Merriweather brings to the table too. Like that. I'm sorry. I just feel like the Navy game was a one-off. 2 targets. You went through it. I'm not going to rehash it. He only had 2 targets. Yep. He dropped one and one was underthrown. End of discussion. Like, he's going to be just fine. I still think he leads the team in yards when it's all said and done.
I do too. But maybe there's less. Maybe there's a little more doubt just because what the other guys did. But again,
that's fair.
We can't overreact to one game. I think that I think Sam Hartman is a smart enough quarterback. Just what we talked about right there. He's a smart enough quarterback. He knows when he's got to get rid of the ball.
Yep.
And he's not just going to lock in on one guy for the sake of trying to get him the football. He's going to throw to the open guy. Sometimes that's going to be Tobias. Sometimes it's going to be Jaden Thomas. Sometimes it'll be Greathouse. Sometimes it'll be Tyree and all over the field. That's the best part of the whole thing is you shouldn't want one guy to be getting the majority of the balls coming his way because it's better for the team.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason that 9 different guys caught balls.
Exactly. Speaking of Sam Hartman, do you buy or sell him as Notre Dame's best quarterback since Joe Montana? This is a topic I heard addressed on a national show this week.
Wow. Well, at least they're talking about Notre Dame, so I'll give them credit for that. And in a positive way, if they're saying that he's the best quarterback since Joe Montana, for goodness sake, I'm going to say no, because I think Brady Quinn was still a very good quarterback. And I think, his numbers obviously speak to that. So is he the best since Joe Montana? No, I think Brady Quinn deserves some love in there. And I'm sure that people would say Jimmy Clausen, although Jimmy Clausen didn't have the wins to go along with it or the team around him to really be all that successful. But the short answer for me is Brady Quinn.
Brady Quinn inhabits the record books. Jimmy Clausen is sprinkled in there as well. Obviously, it's a different era that we're dealing with now than the last 5 or so years since Joe Montana was here. But I think a guy who gets maybe overlooked a little bit, Steve Berline was a good quarterback.
Good call.
Won a playoff game in the NFL, was not a regular starter forever, but he had his opportunity with some starts. Steve Berline was a very good quarterback. Rick Meyer was the number 2 overall pick in his draft behind Drew Bledsoe.
Call.
So, I mean, there's some guys in there. Tony Rice won a national championship, obviously a different kind of quarterback, but we're talking one game,
right?
Large body of work with these other guys. So it's like, I think we all think Sam Hartman's going to have a really good year in his 1 year at Notre Dame. I'm not willing, based on one game against Navy, to say Sam Hartman is their best quarterback in 45 years since the guy who won 4 Super Bowls. So I'm going to have to sell this one as well.
Yeah, it's a big sell. And I mean, we're also talking about Tony Rice. I mean, he's a different kind of quarterback, but he was pretty stinking effective in the offense that he ran. They won a national championship. So I think he has to get some love here too, right? I mean, he wasn't your prototypical in the pocket passer, obviously, but he's still pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. There have been a lot of good quarterbacks over the years. We haven't seen them in more recent years. Bingo. And I think that's a big part of why everything is sort of so accentuated with Sam Hartman right now, because of the elite level of quarterback play that we saw.
You know what's funny, and I don't know if Brian brought this up on any of the shows, throughout the week, because I can't listen to him all the time. But do you remember what Jack Cohn's stat line was in his first game as a Notre Dame quarterback?
It's pretty good, wasn't it? Like maybe a couple, like 2 or 3 incompletions or something like that.
Let's see. Yeah, it was really, really good. And I'm going to try to find the box score here. Of course, there's, it's no fun. Okay, here we go. All right. He was 26 of 35 for 366 yards.
Yeah, the Florida State game. That's right. Forgot about that.
4 touchdowns and 1 interception. So his stats were pretty stinking good. And if I'm not mistaken, that was on the road too, against a much better opponent than Navy, because they went to overtime.
With a worse offensive line and running game
correct.
Than what Sam Hartman also has right now.
Yes. Now, Sam Hartman, 5 drives, 5 touchdowns, all those different things. He was very efficient. I get it. But, let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes. I'm as big a Sam Hartman fan as there is, but let's pump the brakes.
Yes. Concur. Fill in the blank. It's blank that when Jack Kiser spoke with the media after yesterday's practice, he said Notre Dame starters sat in first class for their flights to and from Dublin. Marcus Freeman sat in economy on the way home, while Sam Hartman gave up his first class seat, also sat in economy, so that a Holden Staes could sit in first class on the way home.
I think it's great. I think it's great. Look, if you're a starter, you deserve special treatment. It is. I can't remember who said it. It's Jimmy Johnson, right? He's like, I treat everyone fairly, but not the same. And right. he came up with some name of a player that he had. He's like, if so-and-so falls asleep in a meeting, I'm going to cut him. If Emmitt Smith falls asleep in a meeting, I'm going to gently wake him up and ask him to pay attention. It's okay to treat your starters better than everybody else. And I have no problem with it.
Yeah, and I'm not, I guess my question, maybe I should have worded it a little bit different. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that Marcus Freeman and Sam Hartman basically both gave up their seats in the good area so that other guys could sit up there. And these are apparently they were those pods, where you can lounge back. And so they could sprawl out and do all this kind of stuff. So to me, it's just leaders leading,
Yeah,
exactly. There's a reason people gravitate to Marcus Freeman, and there's a reason Sam Hartman's the captain, and people gravitate to him. Like you're the captain on an 8-hour flight home, and you're giving up your seat in first class to one of the tight ends.
Yeah.
I think people are going to respond pretty favorably to that over the course of the season.
And you think they might block a little longer or what? I mean, like,
right.
It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you. And I think Sam Hartman had a lot of clean pockets on Saturday, and I think he appreciated those clean pockets. And Holden Staes was a big reason why that was the case. And so I love it. I absolutely love it.
Get a little bit of a cramp. Sorry. So
make sure you hydrate, Sean.
I will. I'll try. Vince, there's this NIL initiative run by NBC that I saw on Twitter over the weekend. Had you heard about this before I sent you this today?
I had not.
I had never heard about it. They tweeted it out. It's NBC Sports, and specifically this guy an executive, Damon Phillips, who works for NBC Sports, started this NIL initiative that money can go to Notre Dame. There's 3 schools that are part of this. So there's kind of a lot of details, but I want to go through this and then we'll talk about it. So it's called NBC Sports Athlete Direct. They've got a website, NBC Sports Athlete Direct. You can just Google that and you'll find your way there. The website says it's an NIL community that connects student athletes, advertisers, and fans. They launched NBC Sports Athlete Direct to help student athletes monetize their name, image, and likeness, NIL. Founded by Damon Phillips, he runs the program, works for NBC Sports. They launched 3 pilot programs over a year ago. Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Temple were the 3 schools. So it's an athlete direct fan club where the college student athletes and teams partner with NBC Sports Athlete Direct to launch these fan clubs. You buy a membership for $29.99 into this. Like if you want it to be Notre Dame, you buy a membership in the Notre Dame fan club, and it provides what they say is unprecedented access to your favorite athletes and teams, including members-only podcast, exclusive content from NBC Sports talent that cover your team, opportunity for virtual meet and greet with the athletes or team as well. And again, it costs $29.99 to join the fan club. So like if you're a Notre Dame fan, you go to this website, you can buy a Notre Dame membership for $30, and it lasts the duration of your team's season. So like for Notre Dame, it would go presumably until whatever bowl game, whenever their season is over. You do have to live in the United States and be at least 18 to do it. But the result of this is the student athletes receive a share of the revenue that is generated by their fan clubs. And they're able to engage directly with their fans, build their personal brands, and gain, as they say, invaluable entrepreneurial experience. What do you think of this whole thing, Vince? Again, I had never heard of this until I saw a tweet from these guys over the weekend.
I will tell you that I think that the idea is fantastic. I think some of the execution is a little interesting. There's actually a link that if you're a student athlete, you click the link to sign up to be part of this collective, as I was looking through, which I thought was interesting. So I'm wondering like how directly, pushed to the athletes that this is. And basically, if you're an athlete, you sign up, you're in the pool. And if an advertiser wants to be a part of it, then they kind of match you up and they get you money, which I think it's a great idea. I think it's what NIL is supposed to be honest with you. It's a very similar situation what NIL is supposed to be.
If I'm being honest, I'm a little surprised that you don't see any ads or promos during a Notre Dame football game for this thing. It's run by NBC Sports, and it's obviously this is again, it's like you've seen Under Armour with the partnership with Sam Hartman out there with what Sam Hartman did a couple of weeks ago on social media. And now you're seeing NBC Sports, 2 of the biggest partners that Notre Dame has, going direct where fans can go buy this fan club membership, and you are putting money into this pool that's going to help out Notre Dame football players. And it's not just the football team, it's other teams as well. Like if you want it to be men's basketball or women's basketball or baseball or whatever it happens to be, it helps all these different sports. So I think it's really cool. And again, I had never heard of it. It's more than a year old at this point. And it is off and running. So it sounds fairly unique. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very unique. I would be curious to see what has come of it. You know what I mean? Because obviously they haven't publicized it very well before.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't know what could come of it, considering we've never even heard of it before.
You think we would have at least heard that it existed?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So very interesting. So again, like we've got a viewership and listenership full of Notre Dame fans. It's $30 to join this thing. It's basically pennies. So if you're talking about, well, Notre Dame isn't in on NIL and they're not using NIL, I mean, it's an opportunity as a fan to help Notre Dame from the NIL perspective.
Yeah.
And again, it's called NBC Sports Athlete Direct. So you can go there. They've got a website. They've got links where you can join and just do the whole thing. Pretty cool.
Father David's upset. Canada was left out again.
I know.
And Father David, listen, man, number one, if you're a student athlete who's under 18, you can't benefit from this. And if you're a student athlete who is not originally from the United States, you can't benefit from this, which I found very interesting. So you're not the only one, Father David. If there's any Canadians on the Notre Dame roster in any sport, they cannot participate.
Apparently not.
So at least find some solace, Father David.
Too bad, eh?
Hey.
So there's a bar in Green Bay, Wisconsin that's going to pick up the tab for some New York Jets games this season. If you get to the bar 15 minutes before the game starts, open a tab, and then stay for the entire game that Aaron Rodgers starts for the Jets, they're going to pick up the tab for you after the game if the Jets lose. So who's going to come out on top in all this, Vince?
Man, you're taking a gamble. I mean, this is a true gamble if you're the owner of this bar. I mean, now I think a lot of NFL prognosticators think that the Jets are going to be over 500. So I don't know that I'm one of them, but I'm not a professional NFL prognosticator. So I guess if you're a bar owner, you've done the math in your head and you figure, well, they're going to win more games than they're going to lose. You better hope, and I should pull up the Jets schedule, but you better hope that the night that the Jets play some like really, really good team, that you don't just get absolutely hosed.
That's
like,
right.
You better hope that people come in, like let's say the Jets are playing the Chiefs, for example, and everybody thinks that the Chiefs are going to win. So they just go in and they run up a huge tab. You just better hope the Jets, come back and win that game, man, because you're going to make all kinds of money or you're going to be out all kinds of money.
I mean, you said the key word gamble. It's basically like a sports book. You know, it's exactly what it is. He's taking all the bets, and then if he loses, he's got to pay the bet back. But if he wins, he's keeping everything. And so people are staying there, buying food, drinking their booze, doing the whole thing. I think that over the long haul, one, there's such a markup on alcohol to begin with. And so over the long haul, one, not everyone's going to show up in time and meet all the requirements. Some people are going to, take off early. Other people are just going to sit around and get snockered waiting and hoping that Aaron Rodgers loses. So, and then, like how many games are going to come right down to the end? That's what I want to know. Like it's going to be decided by a field goal or something. And then how many is the house going to win on this whole thing? I think that just by drawing these people in, I think that in the long haul, the bar is going to come out in front on this whole thing. I think it's going to be good for him. I think it's going to be good for business, and they'll just, have a lot of people sitting in there rooting against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and it'll probably be a pretty good time for everybody.
Yeah, no doubt. You're right. I think in the long run, they're probably going to make out, but there's going to be a couple nights where there's going to be a couple nights where they're not going to break even, man, and it's going to suck for them.
By the way, I really did have a cramp. I wasn't just saying that a little bit ago. I had a cramp here in my side.
But you handled it very well. Much better than I did.
So AMC Theaters is partnering with ESPN to show 75 ACC football games and the New Year's Six Bowl games this season. Would you go watch a college football game in a movie theater?
100%. I
Would
think it's
you?
a fantastic idea. I do. I
You just like the popcorn. That's why
I love my
like it.
popcorn. I would get popcorn. The only thing that I would need is Wi-Fi so that I could still, work. Like if there was an away game for Notre Dame football, I would consider going to the movie theater to watch it. You got the big old surround sound and the big screen. I think it would be a blast.
That actually might be enjoyable, like watching them up, like when you talk about it that way. I guess it would depend. Like, am I working or am I a fan though? And the other thing is, like we were just talking about the whole bar scene, with there in Green Bay. It's a movie theater, so there's pop and there's popcorn and all that stuff. I guess some theaters are serving beer these days. I don't know that AMC will be serving beer. Like how big? Not that that's like a huge deal for me anymore, but still, they tried this with NFL games a few years back, and it didn't seem like it was a huge success. I don't think they do it anymore, but they're still out there trying, plugging away. I mean, everyone knows the ACC needs some publicity.
There's no doubt, and like I said, the AMC theater that is at Disney Springs, for example, it's like the free area where you can walk around and they got shops and stores and stuff. They have an AMC theater in there and they have like table service. Like you go to the movies and they have table service. You can get
now we did one of those. Kind of yeah, when we went to Dallas a few years back. Okay. It was it was a theater like that, but it was table service and alcohol. Like I think they even had dinner, like the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Whatever you want.
It'd be weird to do that. I feel like a dinner atmosphere promotes conversation.
Right.
And I don't want people conversing while I'm watching the movie. I wouldn't mind having food like that, but I don't know that, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder how that actually, we didn't obviously do it, but I wonder how that would all go.
Final question, potentially from ND Cheat Sheet. If all things go to plan against Tennessee State, who are some young guys on defense we're excited to see get some playing time?
Oh, let's see here. Donovan Heinisch on the defensive line. I think he would be fun to see.
Now, he could be part of the two deep anyway because of Gabe
right.
Rubio being out. Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Drake Bowen, potentially.
Yeah. Let me pull up here the roster, and I'm going to go put the freshman at the top. Okay. So, and he said defense specifically. I would like to see some more of Christian Gray. I think that would be, he got some playing time obviously on Saturday, but he could be out there for an entire half. At this point, I think Adon Schuler, Ben Minnick, I think would be two fun guys at safety to see. Maybe Drake Bowen.
So you're basically just going to mention every defensive freshman and throw them out.
Yeah, because they're all exciting to see. Because we're not going to see them really.
Yeah, I mean,
this is
the opportunity. If the starters take care of business the way they're supposed to, this is an opportunity to be one of the 4 games that some of these guys get to play in this year, because there's potential for really extensive playing time if things, as the question went, go the way that they're supposed to go. Extensive playing time opportunities, and that's part of what you want out of a game like this.
And I honestly wonder how Notre Dame is going to handle this, if I'm being honest. Like, if they're up 50, okay, and you're the second half of the fourth quarter, I wouldn't be overly surprised to see some walk-ons get some playing time as opposed to freshmen, because I feel like they're going to try to preserve some of these higher-level freshman guys, like guys I just named. They're going to try to preserve some of those redshirt opportunities, and why would you waste it in garbage time against Tennessee State when you could put them on special teams and maybe actually
that's true too
make an impact in a game
by the end of the season. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the coaching staff does it.
Yeah. Antoine says he wants to see Bowen, Snead, and Osbury in at the same time. That could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind seeing that at all. I like Tristan, what we were just talking about. He says, I can't watch games with family, total strangers, Hard pass.
I'd rather watch games with total strangers because I'd yell at them and there's no repercussions. So
total strangers can be easier to watch a game around than like people who maybe wear headphones during the game and like get annoyed by little ticks on your keyboard and those kind of things. You know anybody like that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I'm just like spitballing, just shooting out loud here.
Stuff out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. There's some certain family members that I can't stand watching games with. So I would much rather watch it with strangers.
Yeah, my dad is like one of these guys watching a game who likes to talk out loud at everything the announcers say and, like question what they're saying and
right.
And, like, what do these guys know? They never played the game, that kind of stuff. And then I've got the other side of the family who really doesn't care that much about football, even though, of course, they claim to be Chiefs fans because they've won a couple Super Bowls here recently. But they really, it's just like trying to watch, especially when I'm working, trying to watch, around the holidays when I have to be around them. That's a lot of fun. So I would agree with the family comment. It's like just let me watch the football. Like Jesse and I, we can watch a football game together. Like sometimes he dials it up a little bit and I have to kind of remind him, dial it down. But then, I used to be like that myself at some point.
So you get it.
Yes,
you get it.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. All right, Vince. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. Great questions in the mailbag as always. And we've got another show coming up tomorrow. Jesse's got some whiteboard. He's going to bring that in. We're going to do some whiteboard for the weekend. And, of course, some rapid fire and some other Notre Dame topics. Marcus Freeman scheduled for a Zoom call with the media Thursday at noon. So we'll potentially have some comments from Marcus Freeman, depending on what he talks about tomorrow at noon as well. So that's coming up on tomorrow's show. Thanks again. Hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe, rate, and review. And we'll talk to you tomorrow on IB Nation Sports Talk.